It is said that the Supreme Commander of Knights and His Majesty the Emperor will come together. Kevin's face, as he broke the news to Fenric, was full of embarrassment. Even though it wasn't his fault, he kept checking Fenric's expression with obvious concern. It seems that the palace was not satisfied with His Majesty's move itself. But, there was no one who could stop him. Maybe if the Archbishop had been alive it would have been different. But it cannot be declared openly that His Majesty is going to the Forbidden Forest because of Miss Presepe, so they used the strange movements of the beasts in the Forbidden Forest as an excuse. New types of monsters began to appear, including ancient monsters that had never been seen before, along with the species that used to attack villages previously. At that moment, a small piece of paper that he had received from one of his knights before setting off passed through Fenric's mind. Therefore, they will take with them not only soldiers, but also priests. In terms of the number of troops, it seems good, but I don't understand what His Majesty is really thinking, Kevin said in a low tone, his eyes on the floor. As for Fenric, he smiled with cold sarcasm. Yes, as long as things have reached this point, you won't be able to remain a spectator either. Fenric knew what was on Dietrich's mind. Siegfried is badly injured and cannot hold Fenric again. He has no one to submit to him as he pleases anymore. He may even feel anxious. Maybe Fenric will save Presepe, and then run away with her forever. But, even if he came to the Forbidden Forest, so what can Dietrich do there? From Fenric's point of view, it's completely different. Only he knows the whole truth about Vidar, right? It will come without realizing the extent of the danger. He exposes his life to ruin. On the contrary, this might be my chance. First goal. Eliminate all those annoying men who were called the heroes of the novel. Perhaps this goal can finally be achieved. But Fenric knew better. The biggest problem is not Dietrich, nor Siegfried, but in Vidar himself. But you must always remember this, when he returns, no majestic legend will destroy him, nor will the weapon covered with a tearful story reach him. Not even the blessing of the gods would succeed in bringing him down. Everything starts from him and ends with him. While Fenric was contemplating the words of the document that Siegfried had stolen from the church, his red eyes swayed softly. No one, and nothing, can kill him. Who lives in this carefully designed world, bound by the shackles of this system, there is no hope for him to escape from it. It was a truly terrifying fact. It means that there is no way to kill Vidar. But Fenric, my Lord Duke? Kevin was anxiously awaiting a response after his long report, but Fenric did not answer. He didn't say a word. All he did was hold his horse's reins tighter than before. We will not go to the entrance of the Forbidden Forest, but to Lady Vanessa's village. Lady Vanessa's village? Yes, that village located east of the Forbidden Forest. Fenric continued by saying, even the vanguard knights who first entered the forest were attacked. If we approach with a large military force, we will bring more disasters to no avail. So, we will start in the village, and then move on. I see what you mean, sir. But, Kevin muttered softly, then raised his head and looked up at the sky anxiously. It looks like rain is coming. As if the sky was confirming his words, it was filled with thick black clouds, even though it had cleared a short while ago. That's okay. Fenric replied coldly, as if it did not concern him. We should arrive in half a day. Any delay by anyone will bear responsibility. As soon as he said that, Fenric charged forward without hesitation. Kevin sighed softly, then he conveyed Fenric's orders to the soldiers and knights behind him. He also quickly took off after him. You know what, Rick? Are you really sure you know the way? There was no way of knowing the current location, and no clear path leading to Vanessa's village. Therefore, the only credit was Rick, who was born and raised in the Forbidden Forest. After reviewing the Book of Memories, and after receiving indirect guidance from Rick, they had been running and pacing as hard as they could for about half a day. Rather, perhaps more than half a day. They had fled from Vidar in the morning, and now the sun was beginning to set. But this was not the only problem. The smell of wetness and dampness began to loom in the air, and black clouds obscured the sky. It must rain soon. Basically, he was dragged here with only his body carrying. It was a bad situation from all sides. Considering that Vidar had already known about her disappearance, they couldn't even think of setting up a camp or something. Chick. Rick, indifferent to Presepe's anxiety, flapped his wings quickly as if telling her to hurry. Yes, no way. In addition, I have visited this place before, maybe I will find the places I remember while walking. Not long after, she opened her eyes slightly and stopped in place. Rick, wait a minute. Before she could finish, Rick descended on her shoulder, and Presepe looked around quickly. She saw something familiar. That is, that very lake. The one where she forgot her notebook during training. After arriving here, getting to Vanessa's village was not difficult. She had gone alone from the village to the lake before. Wow, you really knew the way. You're so smart. Perhaps because of this compliment, Rick made little sounds of joy. Thank you for your trouble. From here I know the way, so you can rest. After she gathered her breath, Presepe began to run quickly. They are closed now. Just go past that lake, and the road leading to the village will appear. Once she arrived in the village, it would be easy to find a way back to the capital. If you stay in the village for a long time, you may cause more harm. Vidar might be angry, and might take his anger out on the villagers. So you should get away as quickly as possible. Oh, and Malia, she's probably still in the village, right? She is able to provide a horse-drawn carriage back to the capital. If that's not possible, maybe I can ride a horse myself. While thinking about all these possibilities, Presepe ran excitedly. She passed by the now familiar lake, then crossed a narrow path that led to the village. It wasn't long before Presepe arrived in the village. But, for some reason, no one was there. She stopped in her tracks and looked around in astonishment. There was no knight guarding the narrow entrance, nor was there any sign of movement or sound. The narrow entrance was empty of guards before, but why is the whole village so quiet? It was a small village, but it wasn't this quiet when she lived there previously. There were vendors sitting in the streets, an old man napping in his shop, and people passing back and forth busy. I suddenly felt bad. That is, the feeling was that Presepe was the only one living in this village now. Is anyone here? Is there anyone? She made her voice, and her voice echoed, filling the empty and silent village. No, there's something strange. If there had been a monster attack, the village wouldn't have been in such a good shape. It must have been completely destroyed, as the tower and palace had recently been. So what happened? Did anyone evacuate residents? Did they even leave the horses? She didn't know what exactly had happened, but she hoped they hadn't even left the horses behind. At least, if the horses were there, they would be able to escape with it instead of being stuck here. While she was thinking about this, she heard a low voice behind her. Presepe.